man P. Whaley, Rio's cousin. I think you met Pablo
Yeah.
a while ago. Pablo graduated Berkeley University at the top of his class with a math degree, a major in mathematics, which is one of the hardest subjects in the world. He's a major, and he went and taught seventh grade. So he became a teacher after that, right? Whole time, Pablo was smoking weed. Pablo ain't never not stopped smoking weed. Like the whole time I've known him, weed I've smoked with Pablo, he's never stopped. His buddy Zebby was going to the same school. Zebby was an architect. Me and Zebby used to every night when I was living in California. Me and Zebby every night puff that weed every night, and he would have to go in his room and study. And I remember he came out to me and he goes, "Hey man," he goes, "Man, I'm not puffing. I'm not puffing tonight, man. I gotta graduate, man. I gotta study, focus on my studies." Okay, he graduated just like Pablo did. He's an architect. All right, these guys been smoking weed their whole life. Okay, not saying, but I'm just giving you two sides of the story. Okay, your uncle Dede been smoking weed his whole life. He didn't go anywhere in life. So, is it the weed? How come Pablo graduated from the university, but Uncle David didn't go anywhere? They both smoke weed. I'm gonna show you the main difference in between those two guys in
Mm.
their weed smoke, though.
Mm.
Pablo smoked a couple times a week. David smoked every day. Every day. So instead of looking for that job, instead of working on what he's got to do, instead of being in school, he was looking for the weed. Pablo had the weed in his drawer. And come Friday, but the whole week it'll be just a little nug sitting in there.
Mm.
Because he had discipline. He still smokes weed to this day. You know what I'm saying? And so does Zebby. But I remember Zebby coming and say, "Hey man, I gotta back off because I'm spending too much time doing this." Okay? When he graduated, best believe that night, some people don't like it. And you're paranoid. You're paranoid at first. And once you get used to stuff, I mean, yeah, it makes you paranoid. That's why you have to be smart. If we makes you paranoid, do it when you're chilling at home. You ain't gonna go nowhere. What's gonna scare you? Your cat? It's not that bad, believe me. Marijuana, like I said, coffee. You drink too much, you die. Your heart explodes. Smoke too much, you go to sleep. There is no death. When you are ready to see the movie on marijuana, you let me know.
What movie?
The movie I have downstairs on marijuana, on how it became illegal, why they made it illegal. They don't have nothing to do with health reasons. Nothing. I'm gonna tell you one of the main reasons. At least this is what history says. One of the main reasons is illegal in America is because in the recession in the 30s, the Great Recession, the Mexicans down there at Texas border would come in and work and do the work all day for little or no pay. They were hired, you know what I'm saying, extra. These Mexicans came up from Mexico and brought their weed with them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They were allowed to smoke the weed, even white people, it doesn't matter. It was legal in the 20s and the 30s. They used to sell them in the corner store, marijuana cigarettes.
There's marijuana cigarettes?
In the 20s, yeah, they used to sell them in the store. Prominent Europeans that came over here that was like slaves and black people couldn't have it. It was above them. That was for the upper class. Marijuana, right? So look, whether you believe this story or not, the Mexicans were smoking their own weed that they had from Mexico. Dirt weed, right?
Dirt weed?
Yeah. Because it wasn't that good stuff that Napoleon brought. Okay? It was the stuff that they got from Mexico. It wasn't the stuff from Europe, right? So, after the recession and World War II and everything broke out and we had money, you know how many Mexicans was in the country?
The-
A
Are
million.
you saying that's why Mexicans are here?
No. That's not why they're here. They're here because we are the land of milk and honey and they keep hopping the fence. But I'm trying to tell you why it's illegal. I'm trying to tell you why it's illegal. They said we don't need these Mexicans anymore. We got money now. World War, the recession's over. So the Mexicans are all in Texas. How do we get rid of the Mexicans? Plus, we're getting kind of complaints that they're drinking and they're laughing and they're hanging out in packs in the park and they're smoking the weed and they're scaring the neighbors.
The
Right?
neighbors.
They're scaring the neighbors. And they were smoking more than drinking. Cause I don't even think alcohol was legal then. No, alcohol was illegal then. It's legal now, but it was illegal then. Marijuana was legal then and illegal now. See? See how the shit just switched around? They said, how we get rid of the Mexicans? The guy said, I know one way to get rid of them. They like that smoking that weed stuff, don't they? That marijuana. They smoke that. They're like, yeah. They said, let's make that illegal. And you know what happens to Mexicans because they're not United States citizens? When they're caught with illegal drugs, they get deported and kicked out of here. That was the plan. They had to get rid of the Mexicans in Texas. Okay? So this is what they said. They said, hey, Mexicans, in order for you to have that weed, you need a marijuana tax. You need a stamp. You have to buy the stamp.
You need a stamp?
Yeah. The stamp that says you can have it. This is what the U.S. government said, right? This is how they got them. They said, yeah, you guys are going to need a stamp to be smoking that weed now. So, but in order to get the stamp, you have to have the weed on you. We have to see the weed and then issue you the stamp. Whoa, 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 whoa. They fell for that. Do you know what the catch was?
Nope.
If you're caught with marijuana without the stamp, you broke the law. How can they get the stamp when they have to show the weed in order to get the stamp? So when they showed the weed, they put the handcuffs on them. They didn't give them the stamp. It wasn't even any stamps.
That's messed up.
It wasn't even, they never even made the stamps. So they said, Kiana, you smoke weed. If you're caught without the stamp and you have weed on you, we're going to arrest you and deport you back to Mexico. So you need to get this stamp. And then you go, okay, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to get it right now. And they go, well, wait a minute. You got to bring the weed with you because we can't give you the stamp unless we see the weed. Oh, okay, whatever. So you get your little weed and you run down there to go get your stamp. They say, okay, now let us see the weed so we can get the stamp. You show them the weed. Oh, you just broke the law. Handcuffs. Deported all of them. Deported all of them because they smoked weed. And they wasn't giving it up. And they was kind of stupid, so they didn't know what was going on. You see? And from there, and that's how they made it illegal, right? In the 60s, I think it was President Kennedy or whatever, he looked at that and he goes, man, that was messed up. He goes, they never even made the stamp in the 30s, and they did that to all those Mexicans. He said, weed is legal. He goes, I'm not fighting a plant that grows out of the ground. President Kennedy, right? He said, this shit's legal. Not even tripping. Marijuana in 1960, completely legal in the United States now. Again, because President Kennedy looked at that law from the 30s, he said, this is unconstitutional. Because they lied. He made it legal again, right? You want to know how it ended up being illegal again, Kiana? This is how. Mind you, I ain't brought up no medical anything that any doctor said anything. Okay? This is how. America went to the Vietnam War. All right? They assassinated President Kennedy because he didn't want us over there in the American war, so the government killed him. Okay? You had, and if you remember, I don't know if you ever saw it on TV or in your history school, in the 60s and the 70s when all the hippies who were smoking weed revolted against the government and was picketing. Remember that?
Yeah.
And they would always show that?
Yeah.
Okay. Listen. These people who were picketing, marijuana was free. So, you know all the hippies smoke weed, right? They said, oh, we can't have these people, because they were picketing so much that you were sitting at home looking at it going, yeah, I'm with them. So the government goes, these damn hippies are stirring up the country. We have to get rid of them. God goes,